Emily sat on the edge of her tiny kitchen counter, staring at the half-burnt spaghetti in the pot like it was some kind of abstract art. She didn't understand. The smoke alarm was still screeching and she waved her hands frantically, trying to clear the smoke before it set off the entire building. "Emily, what happened in here?" Her husband, Ryan, called from the living room, a faint smile on his face even though he smelled the disaster a mile away. I just forgot the pasta," Emily admitted, feeling her cheeks heat up. She could almost hear the judgment in the silence that followed. The kind that wasn't really judgment because Ryan was nothing if not patient, but the kind that made her feel like she had failed at one of the simplest tasks in life. Ryan stepped into the kitchen and took in the scene. Smoke curling lazily from the pot. A tomato sauce splattered across the counter and Emily's wide, guilty eyes. "Hey, it's okay," he said, wrapping an arm around her shoulder. "Really, it's just dinner. We'll order something. Don't stress," but Emily couldn't shake the guilt. She watched as he grabbed a box of frozen pizza from the freezer, tossed it into the oven, and hummed like it was no big deal. Every bite he would take later, she imagined, would remind her of how she had failed him not just as a cook, but as someone who couldn't contribute to the simple joys of life. It wasn't the first time Emily had felt this way. Her best friend, Lauren, had teased her countless times over text. "You can't even boil water, Em. How are you married?" Those messages stung, even if she knew Lauren didn't mean them cruelly. But combined with moments like this, they started to plant a seed of self-doubt that wouldn't go away. Emily leaned back, staring at the ceiling. She thought about her mom, who always seemed to have this magical knack for making the simplest meals feel like something out of a magazine. And then she thought about Ryan, always smiling, always saying, "It's fine. You tried," but trying wasn't enough for her anymore. She made a silent vow she wouldn't let another day pass where she felt like she was letting him or herself down. Not for Lauren, not for anyone else who ever doubted her. She would learn. She would master cooking. And somehow she would show everyone, quietly, that she was capable of more than they ever imagined. Her first step, research. Emily grabbed her laptop and started scrolling through cooking blogs, YouTube tutorials, and Instagram pages that made cooking look both effortless and beautiful. She bookmarked recipes that looked challenging, knowing that each failure would teach her something new. Hours passed without her noticing. When Ryan came back into the kitchen, pizza in hand, Emily barely looked up. "Hey, what are you doing?" he asked. "I'm preparing," she said with a small, determined smile. "For next time," Ryan raised an eyebrow, amused. "Next time?" "Yes," she said firmly. "Next time, I'll make it perfect. You'll see," he gave her a soft, loving smile. Still unaware of the storm brewing quietly in her heart. That storm wasn't about anger or revenge, not yet, but about proving to herself that she was capable. And maybe, just maybe, when the time came, she could show Lauren and anyone else who doubted her that Emily wasn't someone to underestimate. That night, Emily stayed up late, scribbling down recipes, practicing knife skills with imaginary vegetables, and watching videos of chefs explaining the science behind their techniques. She fell asleep with her head on the laptop keyboard, exhausted but exhilarated. The journey had just begun, and Emily knew, deep down, that her little revenge, the one born not of malice, but of quiet determination, would be far more satisfying than anyone could ever imagine. The next morning, Emily woke up with a mix of excitement and dread. Today wasn't just another day, it was the day she would step into the kitchen with a plan. Not just to make food that wouldn't set off the smoke alarm, but to create something that Ryan and maybe even Lauren would never forget. Emily put on an apron she had bought online just for the occasion, the bright yellow color clashing hilariously with her pajamas. "Okay, Emily," she muttered to herself, "no excuses. No takeout. No failures this time." Her first attempt? Pancakes, simple, right? But as she poured the batter into the pan, she realized she hadn't heated the pan enough. The batter stuck, burned slightly, and Emily groaned, flipping a pancake that looked more like a crumpled frisbee than breakfast. Maybe Lauren was right. She mumbled under her breath, catching herself before she said it out loud. The thought made her flush with frustration. She wasn't going to let Lauren or anyone laugh at her like that again. Ryan wandered in, still sleepy, rubbing his eyes. "What smells weird?" he asked, peeking over her shoulder. Emily forced a grin. "It's experimental pancakes. You might like them," he chuckled, the kind of soft, indulgent laugh that both warmed her heart and made her grit her teeth. "I'm sure I will," he said, grabbing a mug of coffee and moving to the counter. "You've got this, Em, don't worry about it." Emily clenched her jaw, determined. She wasn't doing this for him, she was doing it for herself. And for the satisfaction of finally proving she could. Hours turned into a messy, flour-covered morning. She attempted scrambled eggs, which came out watery and uneven. Then omelets, which collapsed like sad little pillows in the pan. Each failure stung. But she noted every mistake in a little notebook she had bought specifically for this mission. She wrote down timings, temperatures, and observations with almost surgical precision. By the time Ryan came back from work that afternoon, Emily had a small spread, slightly burnt toast, a questionable salad, and scrambled eggs that looked marginally better than this morning. He smiled at the sight, genuinely happy. "Wow, this looks amazing," he said, clearly trying to make her feel better. "I can't wait to try it." Emily's heart twisted. He believed she had done well. But deep down, she knew she could do better. Much better. And part of her wanted to make sure Lauren knew it too. Her opportunity came sooner than expected. That weekend, Lauren invited herself over for a casual brunch, something she'd done before. Always making subtle comments about Emily's limited kitchen skills, Emily's mind raced. She could panic, make another disastrous meal, and let Lauren smirk smugly. Or she could plan. She could use everything she had learned in the past few days to prepare a meal that would impress everyone. And secretly, in her heart, that would be her little act of revenge, quiet but unforgettable. Saturday morning, Emily woke up before anyone else. She went to the grocery store, meticulously picking ingredients: fresh vegetables, high-quality cheese, and a chicken that looked perfect for roasting. She returned home, set up her kitchen like a professional chef, and started cooking with precision, patience, and focus she had never felt before. Lauren arrived, chirpy and self-assured, right when Emily was putting the finishing touches on a perfectly roasted chicken. "Hey, smells interesting in here," Lauren teased, giving her that familiar knowing smile. Emily met her gaze calmly, offering a polite smile. "Thanks, Lauren. I've been trying something new." The brunch unfolded. Ryan beamed, genuinely impressed by every dish. Lauren, at first smug, couldn't hide her surprise. Every bite Emily served was perfectly seasoned, perfectly cooked, and plated like a dish straight out of a magazine. Lauren's fork paused midair, eyes widening slightly. "Wow, Emily. This is actually really good." Emily smiled inwardly. She didn't say anything, didn't gloat. The quiet satisfaction of proving herself through action, not words, was enough. Lauren, for the first time, didn't have a teasing comment ready. As the brunch ended, Emily cleared the plates while Ryan helped her. Lauren left with a polite, almost embarrassed, "Goodbye." Emily felt a thrill she hadn't expected. This subtle, silent revenge, proving herself without a single word, was sweeter than any victory she could imagine. Later that night, Emily reflected on the day. She realized something important: the motivation to improve hadn't come from guilt over Ryan's reassurances. It had come from love, yes, but also from her own desire to be seen as capable and strong, quietly standing up to anyone who underestimated her. And in that quiet kitchen, Emily made a promise to herself: she wouldn't stop here. There were more dishes to master, more challenges to face, and more opportunities to prove that she wasn't just a woman who tried. She was a woman who could succeed and make others eat their words while doing it. Emily woke up Monday morning with a quiet sense of pride lingering from the weekend. The taste of perfectly roasted chicken still felt alive in her memory, and she couldn't help but smile every time she thought about Lauren's stunned face. But Emily knew she couldn't let herself get complacent. This was just the beginning. She started the week with a more ambitious goal: mastering her first homemade pasta. She pulled out her laptop, studied a few videos, and scribbled notes about flour ratios, kneading techniques, and cooking times. She felt like a scientist preparing for an experiment, every measurement precise, every movement calculated. Ryan peeked into the kitchen, coffee mug in hand. "Wow, Emily. What are you up to now?" "Homemade pasta," she said with a determined grin. "Today's mission: make it better than any pasta we've ever had." He raised his eyebrows, impressed but also a little concerned. "Oh, okay. I believe in you." Emily laughed softly, feeling warmth at his unwavering support. It wasn't his approval that drove her, but it didn't hurt to have it either. She rolled the dough, cut it into strips, and boiled it with the precision she had been developing over the past week. The aroma of fresh pasta filled the kitchen, making her heart swell with quiet pride. But just as she was plating the pasta with a creamy homemade sauce, her phone buzzed. A text from Lauren appeared. "So, heard you've been cooking. Hope Ryan likes it." Emily felt a rush of irritation and determination. Lauren's teasing had always carried that subtle, patronizing tone, like she was waiting for Emily to fail. But Emily didn't respond. Instead, she used the feeling to fuel her focus, adding a final sprinkle of fresh herbs to the pasta. That evening, as Ryan took the first bite, Emily held her breath. His eyes widened slightly, then he smiled broadly. "Emily, wow. This is amazing." The pride was intoxicating, but Emily kept her composure. This was her personal victory, not a performance for Lauren. Yet, deep down, she knew that one day she would let Lauren see the results firsthand. The week continued like this. Emily tackled more complex recipes, homemade bread, roasted vegetables with delicate glazes, and a perfectly baked lemon tart that had Ryan practically licking his plate clean. Each success built her confidence, each failure taught her patience. Then came Thursday, when Lauren invited herself over again for a casual dinner. Emily felt a twinge of anxiety, but she reminded herself she was prepared. Lauren arrived, bubbly and self-assured, carrying her usual aura of quiet judgment. "So, what's on the menu tonight?" she asked, casually inspecting the kitchen. Emily remained calm, smiling politely. "Just a few things I've been experimenting with," she said, placing dishes on the table one by one. The meal was extraordinary. Lauren's eyes widened at the homemade pasta, then at the perfectly roasted vegetables. Even her usual smirk faltered when she tasted the lemon tart. This is really good, Emily," Lauren admitted, her tone carefully neutral. Though Emily could detect a flicker of surprise or maybe even admiration, Emily's heart leapt. But she kept her expression measured. No gloating. No words needed. Her success spoke for itself. After dinner, while clearing the plates with Ryan's help, Emily reflected on the subtle revenge she was crafting. It wasn't about embarrassment or humiliation, it was about proving herself without saying a word. Every dish she perfected, every small victory in the kitchen, was a quiet message to Lauren. Emily wasn't someone to underestimate. That night, Emily stayed up late again, planning her next challenge, a full 3-course meal that would push her skills even further. She realized something important. Her motivation had shifted. Cooking wasn't just about impressing Ryan or proving Lauren wrong anymore. It had become about her own sense of accomplishment, her love for creating, and the quiet thrill of mastering something that had once seemed impossible. And as she drifted off to sleep, Emily felt a spark she hadn't felt before, a quiet, determined excitement. She wasn't just cooking. She was rewriting the story of herself. And someday, Lauren and anyone else who doubted her would have no choice but to see the woman Emily had become. Emily had been riding a wave of confidence for weeks. Her skills were improving, her dishes were becoming more sophisticated, and she could feel the quiet satisfaction of proving herself in her rivalry with Lauren. But as anyone who's ever grown knows, progress doesn't come without setbacks. It was a Friday evening when the real test came. Emily had invited Lauren and a few mutual friends over for what she called a casual dinner. In reality, Emily had been planning it for days, a full 3-course meal that would showcase everything she had learned: a roasted chicken with herb butter, creamy homemade pasta, and a delicate chocolate souffle for dessert. Emily was nervous but determined. She had spent hours prepping, chopping, and seasoning, and the kitchen smelled heavenly. Ryan hovered nearby, sensing both her excitement and tension. "You've got this," he said softly, giving her a reassuring squeeze on the shoulder. "Everything's going to be amazing." Emily smiled, but there was a flicker of doubt. Could she pull this off flawlessly? The pressure of impressing Lauren, who had a way of noticing the smallest mistakes, weighed heavily on her. The first course, the roasted chicken, came out perfectly. Crispy skin, juicy meat, tender vegetables. Ryan and the guests complimented her, and Emily felt her confidence soar. Lauren, ever the critic, gave a polite nod but remained largely silent, as if weighing every bite carefully. Then came the pasta. Emily had prepared a rich, creamy Alfredo sauce and perfectly cooked fettuccine. But in the chaos of the kitchen, she misjudged the timing, and part of the pasta became slightly overcooked. She caught it before it was disastrous, but Lauren noticed immediately. "Oh, it's a little soft," Lauren said, her tone light but unmistakably critical. Emily's heart sank. She forced a smile. "Yeah, I noticed. I'll adjust next time." Lauren smirked slightly, the kind of expression that made Emily's blood boil, but she didn't let it show. Instead, she focused on the next challenge, dessert. The chocolate souffle was notoriously tricky. Emily had never attempted it before. She followed the recipe with extreme care, folding the batter precisely and timing the oven perfectly. But as the timer went off, she opened the oven to find the souffles had collapsed slightly in the middle. Emily felt a wave of panic rising. She could hear Lauren's amused laugh in her head. She took a deep breath, refusing to let frustration take over. "It's rustic," she said lightly, plating the desserts with as much elegance as possible. The dinner continued. Guests complimented her dishes, though Emily could feel the subtle tension in the air. Lauren made a few backhanded comments, testing Emily, trying to poke at her insecurities. Emily bit her tongue, silently acknowledging the challenge. After everyone left, Emily slumped into a chair, exhausted. "I messed up," she admitted to Ryan. "Emily, no," he said firmly. "You did amazing, seriously, they loved it." But Lauren noticed everything, Emily said. frustration lacing her voice. She probably thinks I'm still a mess in the kitchen. Ryan shook his head, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Emily, you're learning. You're improving every single day. And honestly, I don't care about Lauren. I care about you. And I'm proud of you. Emily felt a lump in her throat. She wanted to believe him, wanted to let go of the guilt. But a small spark of determination remained. She realized that setbacks weren't failures, they were lessons. And the best revenge would come not from perfection in a single dinner, but from consistent growth, from proving herself over time. That night, Emily pored over cooking videos again, determined to master the souffle. She practiced folding egg whites, testing different baking techniques, and jotting down notes with meticulous detail. Every failure became a stepping stone and every small success a victory. She also realized something crucial: the subtle revenge against Lauren wasn't just about showing off her cooking skills. It was about quietly building her confidence, about learning to trust her own abilities, and about taking pride in her contributions without relying on external validation. And deep down, Emily knew that one day she would host another dinner, one that Lauren would never forget. A dinner so perfect, so thoughtfully executed, that her rival's smug expressions would be replaced with genuine admiration. That day would be the culmination of all her efforts, the sweet payoff of patience, persistence, and love, not just for cooking but for herself and for Ryan. As Emily cleaned the kitchen that night, Ryan leaned over and whispered, "You're amazing, you know that?" Emily smiled softly, feeling a quiet fire ignite inside her. This wasn't just about pasta, souffles, or impressing anyone. It was about Emily becoming the woman she always wanted to be. And if Lauren got to witness that transformation, it would be a bonus. Emily woke up on Saturday morning with a sense of purpose that felt almost electric. Today wasn't just any day, it was the day she would host the dinner that had been simmering in her mind for weeks. Every failure, every burnt dish, every moment of self-doubt had led to this. Ryan noticed her excitement as soon as he walked into the kitchen. "Wow, you look energized," he said, sipping his coffee. "I feel energized," Emily admitted, tying her apron tightly. "Today, I'm going to show everyone, myself included, what I'm capable of." She started early, meticulously planning the three-course meal. Appetizers were light, flavorful bruschetta with fresh tomatoes and basil. The main course was her signature roasted chicken, now perfected after countless trials, paired with a delicate risotto she had practiced multiple times. And for dessert, a chocolate souffle that, this time, was exactly how it should be: tall, fluffy, and with a perfect molten center. Hours passed in a blur of chopping, stirring, and seasoning. The kitchen smelled like heaven, warm, inviting, and undeniably impressive. Emily felt a thrill as she tasted each dish, knowing that every bite was a result of patience, persistence, and love. Finally, the doorbell rang. Lauren arrived first, as expected, with her usual confident smile. "Hey, Emily. Can't wait to see what you've made this time," she said, casually looking around the kitchen. Emily met her gaze calmly, offering a polite smile. "I'm excited for you to try it." Ryan followed, carrying the drinks, while Emily led Lauren into the dining room, where the table was set beautifully, candles flickering softly. The meal began. The bruschetta was met with appreciative murmurs, Lauren included. Emily felt a quiet thrill. This was it, the moment where all her effort would speak louder than any words could. Next came the main course. Lauren's eyes widened slightly as she tasted the roasted chicken and risotto, her usual confident smirk faltering. This is amazing," Lauren admitted, her tone carefully neutral. Though Emily could see the surprise in her eyes, Emily smiled faintly, letting the words sink in. She didn't need to say anything else. The silent message was clear: Emily had worked, practiced, and persevered. She had proved herself. Finally, dessert. Emily brought out the chocolate souffle, still warm, its tops perfectly risen. Lauren's fork hesitated, then she took a bite. Her eyes widened. "Emily, this is unbelievable," she said, her voice tinged with awe. Emily felt a wave of satisfaction wash over her. Not only had she succeeded, but she had done so on her own terms, out of love, patience, and determination, not guilt or expectation. After dinner, as Ryan helped her clear the dishes, he whispered, "You did it. You're incredible." Emily leaned against him, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. The subtle revenge had worked, not through confrontation or humiliation, but through quiet excellence. Lauren had witnessed it, yes, but more importantly, Emily had proven to herself that she was capable of more than anyone, including herself, had imagined. That night, as Emily reflected on her journey, she realized something profound: love, patience, and personal growth were far more powerful than proving anyone wrong. The small victories, the persistence, the quiet resilience, all of it had culminated in this moment. And while Lauren might have been stunned by her skills, Emily knew the real triumph was hers. She had learned that contribution through effort, love, and dedication was far more meaningful than expectation or approval. As she cleaned the kitchen, Ryan wrapping an arm around her shoulders, Emily smiled softly. She wasn't just a better cook now, she was a woman who had faced doubt, fear, and failure, and had emerged stronger, more confident, and quietly triumphant. The subtle revenge was complete. Not with harsh words, not with embarrassment, but with mastery, patience, and love. And in that moment, Emily knew she could handle anything life or anyone else threw her way. Emily woke up Sunday morning with a calm she hadn't felt in weeks. The kitchen smelled faintly of the herbs she had left drying overnight, and sunlight streamed through the windows, warming the counters she had once feared, the dinners, the failures, the late-night practice sessions. All of it had led to yesterday's triumph. The memory of Lauren's wide-eyed surprise and Ryan's proud smile still made her heart swell. But Emily knew the journey wasn't just about impressing anyone else. It was about how far she had come herself. Ryan joined her at the kitchen island, sipping his coffee. "So breakfast?" he asked with a smile. Emily grinned, grabbing a bowl and some eggs. "Let's keep it simple today." We earned a break as they cooked together, laughing over small mistakes and teasing each other. Emily felt something shift. Cooking was no longer a source of anxiety, guilt, or competition. It had become a shared experience, a way to express love, and a tool for self-discovery. She realized that her quiet revenge had been achieved not through confrontation or embarrassment but through growth, patience, and mastery. Later that afternoon, Lauren called, curious about the meals Emily had been posting photos of online. Wow, your dishes look incredible," Lauren said, a hint of admiration in her voice. "I didn't know you could cook like that." Emily smiled, a soft, knowing smile. "Thanks, Lauren. It's been a journey. But I finally found my rhythm." There was no gloating, no need to prove anything further. The subtle revenge had done its job. Lauren's surprise and respect were earned silently, without Emily having to say a word. The satisfaction came from within. That evening, Emily prepared a small dinner for just herself and Ryan. She plated the dishes carefully, each one a reflection of her dedication and love. Ryan looked at her, eyes soft and full of pride. "You've changed, Emily," he said quietly. "I've always loved you, but seeing you like this, it's incredible." Emily felt a lump in her throat. She realized that the most important validation didn't come from Lauren or anyone else. It came from Ryan, yes, but also from herself. She had worked through guilt, self-doubt, and frustration, and emerged stronger, more confident, and fully capable of contributing, not because she was expected to, but because she wanted to. As they ate, Emily reflected on everything she had learned. Love wasn't about expectation. Contribution was far more meaningful than perfection. Personal growth was its own form of revenge, subtle and satisfying. Every failure was a stepping stone toward mastery and confidence, and in that quiet moment, she knew that she had truly won, not just over Lauren's judgment or her own self-doubt, but over the fear that had held her back for so long. Emily leaned back, smiling softly at Ryan. "I guess I finally get it," she said. "Get what?" Ryan asked. "That love isn't about meeting expectations. It's about contributing, growing, and sharing what you can. And it's about finding pride in yourself, not in someone else's approval." Ryan nodded, wrapping an arm around her. "Exactly. And you've done that beautifully." Emily took a deep breath, feeling the full weight of her journey. The smoke alarms, the burnt pasta, the failed soufflés, all of it had led to this, a woman confident in her abilities, a marriage strengthened by love and understanding, and a subtle victory over doubt and judgment. And somewhere, far in the background of her thoughts, Lauren's quiet acknowledgement lingered, a reminder that actions speak louder than words, and that true growth always leaves an impression. Emily smiled again, this time not out of determination or revenge, but out of contentment. She had learned to cook out of love, to grow for herself, and to embrace the quiet power of her own abilities. And that, she realized, was worth more than any praise or approval she could have ever received. As the sun set outside, Emily felt a deep sense of peace. Her journey was complete, not because she had impressed everyone, but because she had finally impressed herself.